Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Duplication Nation MLM podcast. Also put up on the YouTube channel of the same name. If you're just here for the first time, you should know this is not an interview. I don't interview guests. I actually get a partner every episode and we chop it up. We just have each of us bring things we want to talk about. We're not ever actually going to talk to you. We're talking to each other and we're letting you listen in on. This is the real world, big boy, big girl conversations that happen, how the business is really done. And it's a project of duplicationnation.com. If you haven't been to that site, you need to correct that immediately and go down to the bottom and look for the MLM Bootcamp. It's a free 3-week e-course on how to be successful in the business. All right, so this week, the guest after the ... is once again Dana Collins, who is here for part 2. Hello, my friend. It's delightful to see you again.
You as well. You as well. I kind of almost invited myself back. I was listening to you. I totally listened. I listened to every episode of this chopped up series that you've been doing because it's uplifting, number one, and it's really incredible to hear from successful people that are doing this in different companies in different parts of the world. And it's just inspiring to me. And I've gotten so many great insights and ideas. I enjoyed every minute of it. And I was listening to Peter talking to you about your prosperity cassette series from way back in the day. And I hit pause on YouTube. I was actually watching it on YouTube and called you and said, yes, you need to do that. It needs to be an audio version that we can stream and we can listen to because it's so needed right now. And it's, I think, foundational. Really, it's the foundational work one has to do to really succeed is work on prosperity consciousness.
And for people who don't know, you're talking about Peter Sorensen, the show I did with him, which has to be one of the most inspiring stories. Here's a guy who he flirted with bankruptcy at least twice, maybe 3 times. And now he is one of the wealthiest people in Denmark. And I don't mean like hype, fluffy, puffy, MLM, rah-rah. I mean, they have like the equivalent of the Forbes list here, where Forbes magazine says here is the most wealthy people. He's on that list for Denmark, the publication that does it there, and he's moving up it fast. And so he was that album. It was just called Prosperity, I think. It was a 6 cassette or 8 cassette or something.
6 cassettes.
Okay, and that album sold more than 500,000 copies. It really was popular. And so we've had, I think, a digital version on the site. I don't even know if it's still due. But when Peter brought that up, I was like, I really could update that for the times, what's going on right now with social media and the polarization and all of the the changes in the world and how technology has advanced and entrepreneurialism. And then when you called me, I was like, okay, Dana is like the 3rd person now after Peter's show who has called me and said, dude, you got to do it. 100%. So I am going to do it. I've already talked with Ford, my back office website, logistical guy, and how to do it. I think I'm going to do audio and video.
Go ahead.
And people can choose whichever way they want to stream it. And I'll just make a new album that they can just buy digitally,
I think that's fantastic. I I'll sell your first 500,000 for you. Because if you're watching this, it's that good. And I think today we are bombarded by things to tell us that we're just not enough, we're not good enough. And that whole, like, I mean, we wake up in the morning and we think, oh, I didn't get enough sleep. It's this not enough culture that we're in that completely destroys prosperity thinking. And prosperity thinking is foundational to success. And I know for me personally, my business was actually pretty good. It wasn't, a lot of people would have loved to have been where I was when I discovered your prosperity work, but it enabled me to go from being one of the top leaders to a top leader, because it expanded not just my thinking, because that's clearly an important component of prosperity work, is expanding the way you think and the way and becoming aware of what you're saying to yourself, but it opens up what you believe is possible. And I think COVID really damaged people's capacity to dream. People were locked in,
their psyche.
Yes, it messed with people's heads, especially for my friends in Australia and New Zealand. I had people on my team who had components of, and not to get political, but just so bear with me, there's elements of the vaccine that for them would kill them. So they couldn't take it. It was either they were so allergic, and they had medical records showing, that this was something that they would be allergic to, but they still couldn't leave their houses. Imagine what that does to one's head. And I thought of all the people, like, think about being in New York City in an apartment building by yourself in a small studio apartment. And that's like isolation. It's solitary confinement. So you come out of that and you're just grateful to not be in solitary confinement anymore. And you kind of are like, the status quo is good. I don't want to rock the boat. And I think we've got to get back to the dream, what's possible, because I believe in my whole heart that until everyone is on a road to fulfilling their potential, that's what's going to make the world united and better. That's what it's going to take. And it really is understanding that there is enough for every single person on this planet, truly.
COVID really was solitary confinement for millions of people.
Yeah.
I remember, and like when it was really crazy here, I'm like, that's it. I'm going back to Australia. I had a place in Sydney for like 5 years, So I start calling, Chris Lianos down there and they're like, are you kidding? Don't come here. It's worse here than Melbourne was insane. It was a Gestapo police state. And New Zealand, I mean, that was cray. They just, if you were a New Zealand citizen and you happened to go somewhere out of the country on vacation when they started the lockdown, that's it. You're just out of luck. They're like, no, sorry, stay wherever you are. We're not letting anybody in.
Yeah. My niece lived there.
I have a job. I have to go. My vacation ends next week. If I don't get there, they're going to fire me. I'm in Malaysia or Germany or America and in a hotel, which is costing me $350 a night. And I'll have no source of income and I'll be sleeping under the bridge. And they're like, sorry, pal, borders closed. Citizens.
Yeah, I have a niece who lives in New Zealand and she couldn't come back to see her family. And another friend from my company, her son was doing a study abroad, but thank goodness that we were a part of a network marketing company with a network, because there were people that could take her son in their home to live because he couldn't leave the country. It was just insanity.
It was, but I'm glad you touched on the way when it hits people's psyche like that. For me, people would be shocked to hear this, most people except my close friends, but it took me a year after the lockdowns to be comfortable again going out,
Yeah.
which had nothing to do with worrying about getting COVID. That was the least of my concerns. It's for people who don't know, I'm just had a lot of social anxiety. I'm not well, I don't want to cancel that. I don't want to affirm anything. In the past, I have not been, it hasn't been easy for me to meet new people, to strike up conversations, to go to parties, big social events. I have no problem being on stage because that's like my turf and I own it and I know what's coming next. So I'm totally, but being in an elevator, making small talk, I'm the kind of guy, I see the elevator is closing with about 8 people and I step back and I let it close and I wait for the next one because maybe then I'll be by myself,
Yeah.
So I worked so hard to break out of that. And then being in lockdown, it like took me back there and I really had to start all over again, like getting out and like go to the movies again and go out to dinner again and just, socialize. And it's about that. I think the way I always define the prosperity thing is the size of the window through which you view the world.
I like that.
Yeah, as your prosperity consciousness expands, you just see the world through a bigger window. I forget it might have been the show with Peter where I was talking about flowers, right? Which you see,
Right.
I always get fresh flowers. And so it was a big deal to me that I could spend $500 a week on fresh cut flowers delivered to my home because I wanted that beauty around me. Artwork and flowers, it's like beauty that, that's what makes a place. And then I have the guy who's detailing my cars and he tells me, well, Richard Branson is my client up in Palm Beach. He has a place and he spends $5,000 a week. I'm like, wait a minute. So all of a sudden the window gets bigger. Like, wow, okay, you start off, you buy Elvis on velvet painting at the flea market for $20 or dogs playing poker print at Kmart for $30, and that's your view of art. And then next thing you know, you're paying $1,000 at a art festival for a hand painted or drawn or sculpted or something, and then you're paying $5,000. And now, I have artwork in my house that in the past that's more than I would have spent on a house. Right? It's just because and the thing is it's not a materialism thing of, okay, I got to spend more. It's a thing of, as you open up that window, not only do you see the world through a bigger a perspective to be able to say, yeah, you know what? I'll pay $15,000 for a painting, or I'll pay $40,000 for that, or I'll pay $250,000 for an automobile. But you also expand how the value you give the world. And that's why you're able to do those things, because you stop playing small. You stop playing timid. And that's why I loved Peter's show. I hope anyone who didn't hear it or see it goes back and watches that one. As well as, I don't know if you wouldn't even seen the JJ Burden one. It just loaded, I think.
haven't seen that yet. I'm just caught up. So
So JJ is another, he's a guy, he played in the NFL for 10 years, but when he graduated high school, he was like 140 pounds. He couldn't even get a scholarship for football. And then he ends up playing with Joe Montana, one of the greatest quarterbacks who's ever lived, and had a decade career in the NFL, right? That's the story of expanding that window, seeing that bigger picture and saying, no, I am worthy of that. No, I am deserving of that. And that's so much a part of what we have to do in leverage sales is doing that for our teams. We have to, help them chisel away the frames around the little, because most people are looking through a pair of binoculars, and then we have to turn it into a scuba mask, and then we got to turn it into a bread box, and then a bigger window, and then pretty soon you have like floor to ceiling 12-foot high that you're seeing the world with, and then the magic happens.
And here's the other thing that happens when you start to expand your influence. You are attracted to people with influence. As you were talking, I was thinking about some of my friends that I'm so grateful to have in my life, because it's like I have a friend, James, who you would just absolutely love him. We've been sort of on parallel paths since the 80s. We were both in New York at the same time in the fashion industry. And he stayed in fashion, and he dressed Elizabeth Taylor. And I mean, if you name it, he's dressed that person. And you go into his house, and he's been collecting art, and it's just unbelievable what he's collected. And there was a point in his career where, he was just starting, and he couldn't, basically we had one of our financial crashes, one of many that we've had, and it hits fashion, and he didn't know how he was going to pay his vendors that supplied him materials and so forth. And he's like, I can sell one of my paintings, and I can keep going, and for most people in that situation, they would just go, this isn't working. So instead he sold like a Picasso or something crazy, because he was not Picasso, it was a Warhol, because he knew Andy Warhol, like that was his circle in New York. And today he's been able to donate this huge Warhol collection to a museum without thinking about it, because it's where it belongs. More people can enjoy it. But those are the people that you have in your life as a result of expanding your influence, because they recognize that you can add value to their life. And that's really what it's about, that the value for value exchange in a relationship. It's about what you each bring to the table. And these people expand what you think and what you think is possible. Like, when I was in fashion school, I never would have dreamed of dressing Elizabeth Taylor. Like, my vision just wasn't there for that particular career. And here's somebody that he was ahead of me at FIT, but he had that vision. And so it's truly what you think about, you bring about, and what you believe is fundamental. And if you're coming from a lack point of view, or I'm not worth it, or I'm just got to live in reality and just accept that I'm never going to have that car or live in that neighborhood or what, the minute you get into that mindset of just accepting you lose touch with your dream. And part of, I think, what makes life so great is that unexpected, or that sense of anticipation about what's coming and what you're creating.
Funny story, this prosperity consciousness thing. So I grew up in a home where everything was determined by price. If we were going to have pizza, my mom looks in her junk drawer, which pizza has the most dollar off coupon. So if this one is $2 off and this one is $1 off, you buy the $2 off one. It would never even enter the discussion which pizza tastes better. just not. And there's so many people who live that way today, right? Everything is, I just did a podcast on it. It's funny, I should have said this. A lot of the people who follow my work here, they have no idea that the prosperity work is actually my day job.
Yeah.
That's what I really do. I have
Yeah.
a power prosperity podcast. I need to
And
put the link in the show.
yeah, you need to put it in the link, and I'm gonna give an unabashed plug for it, because I have so many people that I coach, and this is the thing that they start their day with. I'm plugged into it because, again, you're surrounded by a world that's going to tell you it's not for you. It's there's a few people that it's for, but it's not for you. And I tell my kids all the time, somebody's going to do it. Why not you? Why can't it be you? And I want all of you to think somebody's going to succeed in network marketing, leverage sales. Why not you? Why not you? And
Right. So, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. You go.
Go. Keep going.
Well, that's it. It's
Okay.
we limit ourselves because we get told things, and we've got to reprogram ourselves to feel like, yeah, why not me? Like, why not me? And that was my big thing, is I just never, for whatever reason, I grew up with engineers. I mean, I grew up with people who are so darn smart that I just always felt like the dumbest person in the room all the time. I mean, we'd sit around the dinner table and they talk about things like transform math. I still don't know what that is. And so but I got really good at selling to my brothers my dessert, like to the highest bidder. Like, I developed skill sets that I just didn't realize were marketable skill sets, negotiation. But and so I grew up thinking, well, success is for smart people like that, because they all went on and invented all of these cool things. But my skill sets, those are just, those are not really ones that make people really successful. Until I found this profession, I went, so this is a different way of solving problems. It's just a different kind of problem solving. And I have great problem solving skills.
Yes.
It's not in the realm of, like, how do we make a camera work on the moon?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so growing up with that mentality, so now I begin at, I don't know what age, probably a little before I'm 30, like I get exposed to Unity Church, Science of Mind Church, Reverend Ernest Holmes, Charles Fillmore,
Eric Butterworth.
So I'm go on this pathway of studying I make this my life work. That is literally what I did. Since 30 on, at least, I've made the study of the principles of prosperity my life's work. And it has involved so much reconditioning to get my thinking out of those limiting beliefs that I had, and that how we always buy everything with the coupon. What made me think of the podcast was I just did an episode this week or last week on, going to the lowest bid, which is how a lot of companies operate. They say, okay, we need to buy some widgets, put out a proposal to 3 different companies, and then whichever one gives us the lowest price, that's who we buy from. And that is literally the company policy. They don't take any consideration into the quality, the durability, the use, nothing. It's price, price, price. And so many people live their lives by that way. There's so many people who, in my family, I'm sure my aunt was the last person left on planet Earth with a TV with rabbit ears with tin foil on them, okay, black and white, people who like, okay, we need to run the blender, so we have to unplug the toaster, or we have to run the electric toothbrush, so we have to unplug the razor because it's going to trip the circuit because we've got wiring from 1918 or 1872 or whatever. And just to be clear, this is not people who are destitute and they don't have the money. These are people who have a sufficient money that they could live at a much higher standard of living, but they don't feel they're worthy of it. It's not even, that's all at a subconscious level. On the conscious level, it doesn't even cross their mind. Like,
Yeah.
why would I remodel this? Why would I pay for cable TV if the local channels are free? That's crazy. Who would pay for TV?
Yeah.
People in my family, well, that's crazy. Who would pay for TV? TV is free. Well, if you say, well, have you ever seen what Netflix offers, or Showtime, or Disney Plus, or, even basic cable, right? But it's this consciousness. So I go through all of this reprogramming and I say, okay, I'm not going to ask for price anymore, because I lived my whole life on. Let me tell you, when I went in the restaurant, they gave us the menu, you open it up, and some people order from the left side. That's where it says meatloaf, chicken dinner, spaghetti, fish, salad. And then there's people like me who ordered from the right side. $17, $12, $8. And that's how, and I remember going to and it started out at necessity, right? I remember going to business lunches or meetings with people. And so I order from the right side of the menu, okay, man, this place is so expensive. I'm just going to have water and a salad, because the salad is $7 and whatever. And then everybody else is ordering, steak and shrimp and lobster and, this and that. And then the bill comes and somebody says, okay, we got 10 people, the bill's $500, so it's $50 each. I was like, where do I go from here? It's like that $50, that's what I need, that extra $40 to pay my electric bill, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it started. So I'm not, I hope nobody thinks that I'm trying to denigrate or judge somebody who really is in a place of need like that, where you have to make decisions like that. True prosperity is about that. You do the prudent thing. And sometimes the prudent thing is to fly economy instead of first class, to get the cheaper hotel room, the cheaper pizza, the cheaper whatever.
Well, and it's about, like I think it was in one of your books, one of your prosperity books, it was, I still have a course that I took with you on prosperity. Literally, I've saved those binders with all of those. I would print out the paper every day and put it in the binder, and I still have those. I've been they're 20 years old now, but the content is that good. But so it could be in that one of the binders, pay back your debt before you go buy new things. These are prosperity principles. So prosperity isn't just about getting more. It's about being a good steward of what you currently have and being grateful for what you have. And I think particularly in our business, it becomes really easy to go, well, at the top, they're making these ridiculous incomes, but I'm only making, I had someone say to me the other day, I'm only making 10,000 a month. And I went, only? You're in the top 2% of income earners in the world. Only. And it's like we need to turn that around, and you need to understand that for so many people that would be a huge win. Yeah. But this is somebody who comes from making a huge amount of money, and so this was a step down, but in terms of income, but in terms of quality of life, it was a huge step up. And so it was a real reframing process, because you're not going to attract people from that place of maybe this isn't enough, and not feeling the gratitude for what it is.
Yeah. So I have some furniture on my balcony and it's rusting. And so it's like, do I want to sand it down and paint it and all that? It's nice furniture, it's solid, but you don't, it's just metal and it's rusting. So I give it to my housekeeper and I say, I'll just go buy some new patio furniture. So I go, and so this thing of now I'm living my life of after having to always order the menu from the right side, now my prosperity consciousness is I will never ask the price of things,
Mhm,
and I will not quibble about the price.
mhm.
Okay, there are places where it's built in the game. If you go and buy a house, they're going to give a list price and they expect you to make an offer. If
Yeah.
you go to most car lots, they have a sticker price and they expect to make you an offer, and they built that in there that you're going to quibble and negotiate. So I get it. They want to play those games, I'll play it. But everything else, I refuse to negotiate. If an accountant or an attorney, a healthcare provider, a massage therapist, a rolfer, whatever, if they say, yes, like my rolfer is $325 a session. There's rolfers who do $150 a session, right? I happen to think my guy is the best in the world. He is
I
like
personally think if somebody's, if for rolfing for me, you're gonna have to pay me. You have to pay me if you.
yeah. Oh, it's rough. It's rough. He just beats me up. Let me tell
Oh,
you,
yeah.
but that's why I'm still playing softball. That's why I can walk without being in excruciating pain all the time. So I'm not going to quibble with him about his price. My chiropractor, I'm not going to quibble with, right? So same thing. I go somewhere and I see it. I don't want to ask the price because I don't want that to influence my decision. I want that when something is important to me, like when I first started flying first class. And I started off like everybody. I was flying in economy, row 35 in the middle seat across from the lap. I did what I had to do to get started and build my business. And then I got to a point where I said, okay, I am no longer going to fly. I will never fly economy again. I deserve to fly first class. I'll be more productive. I'll be healthier. I'll eat healthier food. I'll get better sleep. I'll get more work done, or I'll get better relaxation. And my travel agent would be like, okay, so you need to know that the first class is $1,500 and the economy is $450. And I'm like, Isabel, stop telling me the price of the economy. I don't want to know it, because it's just going to make me think, well, it's only a 3-hour flight. No, I don't even want to think that. Isabel, just don't ever give me an economy price, and don't ever book me economy again. I fly first class. So I've got these rusted out chairs. I go out 2 days ago and I say, I'm going to get some furniture for the balcony, So I go and I find a nice love seat to go on the balcony off of my bedroom. And then I find 2 nice chairs and a side table to go on the balcony that's in my living room. They're nice. It's kind of rope fabric around really strong metal frames, and they guarantee it won't rust, and it's really nice and comfortable. I sat in, I'm like, okay, I'll take it. It was $8,000. I'm like, how can this be? It's lawn furniture. How can lawn furniture, a love seat and 2 chairs cost $8,000? But they do, right? I should have known when they said this is the such and such collection. Okay.
Was this a design within reach by any chance?
No, it wasn't. It's just it's actually a local Miami place, and they manufacture their own. But design within reach is the same kind of deal. You pay $12,000 for a recliner, So, because I've had some of their stuff, but I don't expect that with lawn furniture, right?
No.
But I'm like, I went through the whole store. That was the set that I just loved. It's really beautiful. It's got just gorgeous lines, and it's comfortable. So it seems, if my mother knew that I spent $8,000 on lawn furniture, she would slap me into next week, right? Because it would just be like, to my family, doing that is like, I don't know, being a godless communist who drowns puppies in front of little children or something.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but I just like, no, that's the furniture I like. So it's now if the 8,000 was going to change my lifestyle, then okay, it'd be different, right?
Yeah.
It's like this happened once too. They opened a new art gallery. I used to have my office in the design center in Miami here. and they opened a new art gallery. I walk in, there's this gorgeous painting. Just right away, the first side room I go in, I'm like, oh my God, I want that painting. She says, did you see the price? I said, no. Why? She said, well, it's $880,000.
Oh, geez.
See, that's what we need, a sound effect like that right after the 880,000. That was the, universe chiming in. So I'm like, okay, no, it would not be prudent for me to spend $880,000 on a piece of art. So I didn't, right? But if there's any way that I can, I will, because I want to see the world through that bigger window. And life is so short. The number of funerals that I've been to and friends I've lost in the last few years, I'm like, am I really do I really want to live my life by sourcing everything on the lowest possible bid? Or, you've got to find the thing. And again, we all have to be prudent, right? But you find the things in your life that really add value to you, that are important to you. And those are the ones that's when you splurge on, and that's the ones you do that with.
Yeah, and it could be private education for your kids. It could be, getting an advanced degree, something that you wanted to do, but it wasn't fiscally responsible at that time. It could be a trip, an experience that you want your family to have together. I mean, there's so many things that are, there's so many ways you can kind of take that. And it's because it's beautiful art, but it's also experiences, like the difference between being in first class and coach. I remember, for those of you watching, one time I was flying the mastermind and get on the plane to go to my economy seat. I have to walk by Randy in first class. Hey, Randy. But I had my kids in private school. Just kidding.
All right. You made your priorities.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So right turn here. You were one of my collaborators from the very beginning of this Chopping It Up series. You were on the first few shows. Did you have any idea what we were creating at that time?
I didn't. I really didn't. I was like, oh, this would be fun, just talking to Randy and recording it and seeing what happens. But I think it's really funny, because a couple of years ago I called Art and I said, it would be great if there was something that created a narrative that competed with some of the anti-MLM people that are all over social media. And it's just trendy and fashionable, and most of what they say is not grounded in any real understanding of our business. And I think what you're doing here is doing just that, but in a way that I hadn't considered, which is just talking to people that have been in the business, have created success, because just the conversations that you've been having, they not only provide insight into what creates success, but there's a lot of legitimizing that occurs as well, because how can you argue with all these people who are doing it and succeeding? I mean, if one person succeeds and somebody else can, but it's person after person after person, and you're not going to run out of people to talk to. And that's the beauty. That's what's so incredible, really, is the lives that this profession has changed and will continue to change, because it just becomes more relevant with time. And that kind of blows my mind. It's all the talk. I was just in a meeting earlier, and they're talking about AI. And one of the people there she manages talent in Hollywood, and she recently joined my team. and they're having there's a writer's strike. Now SAG is going on strike, and there's concern that the studios are ignoring AI. And now they can create their own actors through AI, and it could really change how movies are made and how that kind of entertainment is brought to us. And so we kind of morphed into, isn't it amazing that this business, AI can only enhance it, but you can't replace a relationship. And no matter what technology has come into the space, it's disrupted it, and sometimes in good ways and bad ways, right? It's because it takes a minute to kind of figure out how it really fits into the space, and that kind of distraction can be difficult and maybe damaging. But ultimately, for example, social media, there was a minute where you could mess it up and you could build business. And then we realized it really wasn't a relationship building platform. Therefore, it didn't have legs. It just didn't really go anywhere long term, except for maybe a few people who were just so good at it. But even still, we get back to, it's a relationship business, and you can build relationships online. That's a perfectly okay place to build a relationship. And I think AI is just going to be more of the same for our business. We're going to find ways to bring it in, make it our friend, but it will never replace the relationship. And that relationship becomes more and more and more and more and more important as, things isolate us, like COVID isolated us, and technology can be isolating for people, especially young kids. I have 3, and they're 25, 23, and 19. And the difference between those kids is astounding because of technology.
Yeah.
You see the difference in the way they socialize. And it's not all good. In fact, most of it's not good.
At the time this is published, there will be a blog on my site, which is going up tomorrow, my Friday philosophy. This is for anyone watching in the distant future. This is the first week of June in 2023. And the title of the blog post is How Social Media is Killing Your Prosperity. And I have come to now I've been on both sides of this, right? I built a multi-million-dollar practice as an author, speaker, coach with social media. I was a power user on the Periscope. I was a power user on Twitter. I became a power user on YouTube, Facebook. I built I was able to do what very few people could do, which is not just collect a bunch of followers. I was able to monetize it. Right? I was able to turn this into people saying, wow, I saw your video on YouTube. How do we pay you $25,000 to do a keynote speech for us? Right? Yeah. Oh, I saw your blog post on this. How do we get you to come in and work with our company? And I'm getting $500,000 and $1 million contracts based on content that I put out on social media. I showed people, I solved problems and I added value, which is how you create prosperity. And I did that through social media. And then I was able to engineer that in direct selling, network marketing, and do pretty well at it. I've made more than a few $1 million from people that I met through social media. And yet I never, ever in my life put a post about my company. I never, ever in my life put a post about a specific product. I never put a direct sales pitch to, hey, sign up for XYZ company, or hey, I've got this product, and if you buy it from me, you're going to get this. No, but I developed relationships, and I took the same that I used offline online, which is, hey, meet people, develop the relationship, and then when you see how and where you could add value, take it offline and talk to them direct. So I did that successfully. And then I felt, okay, I'm seeing some of my team is having problems duplicating my results. So I modified some things. Jaime Lokier and I have done a lot on this, working with companies now and how they can create social media campaigns that duplicate, right? Because let's say, if you just take your team, Dana, you say, okay, I'm going to create a post because we're going to launch a new product on, January 10th. So I'm going to create a nice slide. We're going to have a picture of this. We're going to have a special offer. Maybe we're going to do a thing. And then I'll share it with my team, and everybody can post that video, and I'll give them copy. They can cut and paste, right? So you think, okay, I've got an amazing campaign that's going to go viral. The opposite is going to happen, because Facebook or whoever is going to say, there's like 1,500 people putting up this same JPEG.
Yeah.
This looks like this is a bot, an army of bots.
Yeah.
Let's submerge all these posts. So we've kind of learned, okay, no, if Dana creates the mother post and then tells her people, share this post, my post with this JPEG, this thing, and then when they reply, follow up, there's ways. So now the algorithms say, oh, this post is getting a lot of traction. People are sharing it. So let's amplify this. Let's make sure it's going to the top, right? So there's things you could do. So I've done all of that. But what's the other side of the story? I left social media completely 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and said, I just don't want this toxic sludge in my brain anymore. There's so much virtue signaling and posturing and political polarization and personal attacks and manipulative marketing, and the computer algorithms are just designed to enrage you and make you fearful. And it's just, it's changing my prosperity consciousness. So I got off completely.
Well, you know what else too, Randy? There's such a push right now. And like, I have a really hard time being on social media, like a really hard time. And just to your point, I have a page for my team. They can go. I have somebody who's really good graphically, understands social media landscape, that creates posts, and people then can take those posts and share those posts. And they have, and they're not product driven. They're more lifestyle kind of posts. So that just, like, here's a tip. And that keeps people from having to figure out, what am I going to post today? And to your point, it gets a lot of shares. But what I see is the amount of victim stance that happens all over social media, that tells, I'm a victim because fill in the blank. I'm wearing a purple shirt today. I don't have on sleeves. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's like an Olympics to see who can win the most victim status. And that is so anti-prosperity. And it starts to seep into your head. Well, maybe the world is stacked against me. Maybe this is futile. And it's like, well, what are you talking about? You're successful. You're doing well. Like, and so I just, like, I try to avoid it to the best of my ability.
Well, wait till you see. You're going to be able to read it tomorrow because it's coming out tonight. All right. It'll be in your Friday philosophy newsletter, in your email at 2 a.m. Eastern time. But so if you take the the platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Truth Social, Dave Rubin's, I forget the name. Those
Parlor.
are the, what is it?
Parlor? Is it Parlor?
No, but it's like Parlor.
Rumble?
Parlor's another one, same.
Rumble?
That might be Dave's. Those are all just enragement and fear platforms.
Yes.
And then if you take the TikTok and the Snapchat and the Instagram, those are the neurosis platforms.
Yes.
So everybody on Instagram has big puffy lips that they got the Botox and the 10 times of facial thing, and they're filming their workout, and it's the bimbo bunnies doing their thing in the gym, and it's the guys showing their biceps and everybody, and here's my office for the day in Tahiti, and here's my new Jaguar that just got delivered, and so it's all about and virtual signaling.
Yeah, I just did a whole slideshow on all the things that network marketers say on social media that attract people who don't want to work.
Exactly, right? Exactly. Right. So you have the virtual signalers, right? I want you to know the reason I wear 2 face masks when I'm riding my motorcycle outside is because I care about you and I don't want you to get COVID, right? It's just, let me show you how it's just social media has turned into, and it always began this way. It's a narcissism factory.
Yes.
Because what does it take to say, hey, I'm at this restaurant and take a look at the escargot, and take a picture of your plate and post it on Instagram. That's so inherently narcissistic. Here's me working out at the gym. That's so inherently narcissistic. I'm such a good person. I gave this money to this charity. It's a factory for creating malignant narcissists, right? So when I say the TikTok and the Snapchat and the Insta, this is the thing that's destroying all these teenagers and giving them just the lowest self-esteem and all that stuff.
And then mental illness, just the amount of mental illness among kids is off the chain.
Well, this is the posit in my blog tomorrow. So you'll read it. And so what happened? So I went off. And then when Jaime and I launched duplicationnation.com, we said, okay, we're launching a media outlet. Randy, you got to promote it. Let your people know what you're doing. So I got back on Twitter. And because there were people I like to follow on Twitter. There's some brilliant thinkers on there, right?
Totally.
But even, I always thought, well, if you mindfully curate who you follow, you're not going to get all that toxic sludge. But it's not true, because even positive, brilliant people I follow, they get people who comment them and troll them and attack them, and then they reply to them. And so it shows up in my feed. And I just realized, okay, there's 15% of those sites that's great, beneficial content. And then there's 85% that's toxic sludge. On the Twitter, Facebook, those are the political polarization one. They're gonna, know what makes you, what are you most likely to buy? What makes you fearful? What makes you angry? And what makes you feel virtuous? And they're going to know by tracking every post you heart, like, click, or share. And here's the example I give in the blog, just to blow people's mind. Because one of the things I put in the blog, I put the quote up. There's a guy who worked on, it's just this week that the new Apple headset came out yesterday or the day before with the augmented reality stuff. And so there's one of the engineers who was on the project for 10 years. And he did a really long post on Twitter, how proud he was of his work and what these goggles are capable of. And they track your breathing rate, the oxygen in your blood, your eye movement, your pulse, your breathing, they can predict what you will click on before you click on it. So I actually excerpted a whole quote from the guy in the post. I want people to see where this is going, right?
Yeah,
But-
well, information is like the new oil, right? I mean, some airports in this country, I think Miami is one of them, where they now do, iris screening. It's kind of like going into China in some airports at this point.
This was a year and a half ago. I come home, I've got the global entry thing, so I can skip all the lines and I just go to the kiosk and I put my passport. And then it says, oh, Randy, you just arrived on Italia Air from Rome, this flight, check yes. Because of course it knows every flight I was on and everything. But then I come home, I can take a trip the next week and it says, look here. And then it says, go see agent. So I'm like, okay, yeah. So I go to the agent. It said, see you. Yeah. Are you Randy? Yeah. Okay. You're good. Like, what? He said, no, when they read your eyes, that's it. You don't even need your passport anymore. Same thing. I'm in the clear program. I just go in, they read my iris, and that's it. They wave me through security. So this is where we're at, right? So now let's go back to this posit that I make in the thing about how toxic it is and how they're going to make you fearful, how they're going to make you angry, how they're going to make you everything. And this is a thought experiment. I'll challenge anybody who watches or listens to this to do this. Think of the craziest conspiracy theory you can imagine and post it on your social. Just make it up, okay? So the example I give in the blog, I say, okay, come up with the theory that there is a shadowy cabal of terrorists who are using red Toyotas to assassinate school teachers. Then put it on your blog and say, has anybody heard about this? And watch what will happen. You're going to get some replies. And they're going to say, well, my sister-in-law was a school teacher and she died mysteriously 7 years ago and nobody knew what it was. And somebody else is going to say, I was in the IHOP yesterday and I saw a guy and he looked like a terrorist. And then somebody else will say, do you know, just 2 weeks ago, there was somebody run over in my town by a red Toyota. And every time their followers see that. So now what's going to happen next? They're going to share it and say, and then people are going to say, this would be crazy if it's true, but I'm hearing, or, many people, I'm starting to see a lot of, this seems like a crazy conspiracy theory, but I'm starting to see a lot of it. And then somebody's going to link in, here's a story, red Toyota stolen at the Town and Country Mall. Someone else is going to send in another link that says, red Toyota involved in hit and run, or school teacher dies unexpectedly. And by the time you click on the fourth link, those computer algorithms have figured out Dana wants stuff about people dying with red Toyotas. She wants stuff about school teachers dying. She wants stuff about terrorists. And within 120 days, there will be a sizable group of people in the world who believe there is a shadowy cabal of terrorists who are assassinating school teachers with red Toyotas. And you're probably a member of that group. Because it builds, it goes to your confirmation bias that, I've heard that even though you made it up to begin with, it was completely fabricated. You're going to start to question, well, I know I just made that up, for giggles, but but I'm seeing evidence that this really could be real. And these algorithms are so sophisticated and there's so many billions of tweets and share, Facebook posts or Instagram posts or whatever they can send you, that you absolutely are brainwashed. And I can, I have 15 people in my life, 15 or more, 16 if I count myself, that I'll say, man, over the last 10 years, they seem more suspicious, more skeptical, depressed, unhappy, cynical, argumentative, judgmental, prone to conspiracy theories. And it's social media. And I believe you're popular today. I believe that this is the pressing issue of our time. If you're a 11-year-old girl and you're starting off on TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat right now, where everybody's got their filters and everybody looks like a beauty queen and everybody has the perfect boyfriend, and those poor kids, I'm so afraid for their future. And the adults, these 15 people that I would mention, 16 if I count myself, these are intelligent, functioning people with high paying job, right? So like for me, I took every social media app off my phone. I shut them all down. And now that I've got this business to promote, I have an agency that's posting for me and I'm not on it. I check Twitter, like if I post my blog post, I say, okay, I've set a limit, Twitter only, and it's 10 minutes a day. And I set a timer.
Yeah.
And I would say for people, so that's kind of a side thing of just social media in general. But if we're talking to people in direct selling, leverage sales, network marketing, party plan, I'm going to suggest get a separate account for your business, only use it for your business, and monitor the time you put on there. And just, for every hour you're doom scrolling on social media, it's going to take you 4 hours of counter programming, 4, maybe 5 hours of positive counter programming to cancel out the negativity, the blow to your self-esteem. Like literally, Art sent me a thing this morning talking about a guy who stabbed 7 children somewhere. And I was like, Arthur, I did not hear about that. I do not want to hear about that. Don't tell me anything more about it. That's why I got off social media.
Yeah.
I don't, because we've always had trolls and kooks and crazy uncles, right? Every family has a crazy uncle. Every family has some crazy person. What's different now is you have $1 trillion plus social media platforms who amplify them because that's their business model. They need the kooks to get you to believe in the conspiracy theories, so you keep clicking down. They need the kooks to get you angry, so you will fight, so you will stay on the site another hour and a half a day. They need to make you fearful, so again, you're on the site thinking of checking all the doom and gloom that's threatening you. And they need you to feel virtuous, so you're on the site more. And so now you're spending 3.5 hours a day on their platform, and they can sell your eyeballs to all their marketers who want to buy them. And that's the business model. So
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, when you think about it, Randy, at one point, our biggest competition was a few channels, right? It was, a handful of channels on TV. And then it was, Netflix, we started, we were competing against people, for people's time with Netflix. And now it's Netflix. It's all of these social media platforms. And I just see people have become busier than ever before they could talk on their phone and walk, like people before with their phone attached to the wall, and sort of less technology, had a way more time than people seem to have today. And this busyness is completely self-imposed.
It is. I figure the average person spending 6.5 hours a day on their phone now of scrolling, doom scrolling, 6.5 hours.
I like that
Yes.
doom scrolling.
That's what it is. It's doom scrolling. So whatever enrages you, they're just going to keep feeding you links, whatever makes you, and it's doom. It's doom and gloom. And it's the old rubberneck, the car accident thing.
Yep.
It's just, and if you got those updates from WAPO or New York Times or Chicago Tribune or San Diego, whatever, I forgot the name of the paper there, you're going to get 5 a day, doom and gloom things they've got psychologists, psychiatrists, marketers, copywriters, computer programmers, and computer algorithms design what is going to make Dana click this link.
100%. Well,
And there's no person on earth who can, no matter how high your IQ is, no matter how high your level of self-awareness is, there's no person on earth who can compete with that onslaught of enemies that are manipulating you.
that, I mean, like, that deserves to be rewound and listened again, what you just said. You can't, no matter who you are and the how smart you are, you can't compete with that. And it's so true. And it's just there to make you mad, get you upset. And when you're mad and upset, what you can't do is work. You're too upset to work your business. You're too depressed to work your business. You've got too much anxiety to work your business. When give this up and spend that time working your business, and in the same time that you could, I'm going to use your term, doom scroll, you could build yourself an asset. That
Think of, even if you're moderate, if let's say the people who think they're really conservative on it, they would be shocked if they actually read if they have an iPhone and they actually pay attention to that update they get every Sunday that says, here's how much time you spent on your phone, and realize what they think is 10 minutes a day is really 2.5 hours a day. If you devoted 2.5 hours a day to talking to candidates, meeting people, developing relationships, giving samples to customers, coaching your team members.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're getting at when you bring that up. It's like thermonuclear rocket fuel for your business if you would redirect some of that time.
100%. I mean, but yet it just keeps sucking us in. It's sucking us in. And the other thing I think that it does is it rewires your brain to not be able to focus. And I think it's one of the things I would just not advise, but I would strongly suggest that if you're watching this and you've watched it this far, make it a practice to read. Don't just get your content through Audible or podcast. I mean, while these are great things to do, and I engage in great podcasts like Randy's Chopping It Up, and love content delivered that way, and make a point to read, because it takes so much more focus to read, and you keep those neural pathways open so that you can focus on other things, like focus on work that you're doing and have that sustained focus. Because I saw myself for a little while not being able to sit and not being able to really read more than a few pages at a time, where I could sit down and devour a book in a sitting. And I realized that using my phone as much as I was changing my ability to really do things for an extended period of time. And
the focus, it kills the focus.
yes.
I pulled this up because when you're telling people read, please read. So on randygage.com, this is the actual name of the post that's going live at midnight tonight. social media is killing your prosperity. That's what I want them to, the first thing when they take up your assignment is to read this. All right. Give you what you're saying. Let me give you some of the things that I've said in here. I talked about who do you know over the last 5-10 years who have really changed and developed these symptoms, right? And they've just gone down the rabbit hole, every tinfoil hat, crazy conspiracy theory, and they're just fighting every day, and they've otherized the other people, they've demonized the other people. And I really do believe it's just, here's what I say: social media is causing more societal decay than any other factor in the world right now. And it's doing it by destroying your ability for rational reasoning, civil discourse, and critical thinking. It's causing brain decay. That's what you're talking about. It's just, people can't even focus anymore because they're just so used to, okay, commercial comes on, picks up the phone. Red light, pick up the phone. They're having dinner, the waitress took the order, pick up the phone. Say one sentence to the person you're dining with, they pick up their phone. You pick up your phone. It's just people have the attention span of a gnat, and social media is part of that cause. Why do we have TED Talks now? These speeches used to be 45 minutes. Now they got to be 12 minutes.
I think you spoke for like 2 hours, right? And I remember sitting in that, I was waiting tables, but it was like, we weren't waiting tables the whole time, and we could, sort of linger and watch and listen. And it would be, an event that went on for a couple days where you sat in a seat, people were sat in seats. And, we used to, it used to be that you'd sit in a chair all day long for a training event. And now it's, well, people can't do that. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think people can. Yeah. I just think they just have made the decision in their head that they don't want to, and therefore they can't. And there's something really important about disciplining yourself to have that kind of focus and to be able to listen longer than 20 minutes, because not like some of the best training that I've ever had could never have been given in a 20-minute increment. Like, I mean, when you think about, a topic like duplication, that's a big topic. And to really unpack it well, it takes 5 minutes to kind of connect the audience to the topic, let alone unpack it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we disservice our teams when we try to give people information in these little sound bites to match what we have decided is their capacity, because that's really not their capacity.
100%. So listen, everybody who's been on, I really vet the people I put on. This has become, that's why I asked you, like, did you have any idea what we were creating? Because I didn't. I thought I did, of where this series was going to go, and like, hey, we're going to make something for the big kids, long form content, adult level, the locker room conversation. But I had no idea on the impact it would have in our space. This is like show 18 or 19 or 20. So it's not even 4 months, and it has made a seismic shift in the profession. This has become the PhD program of empowering leadership for people in our space. And every Wednesday, my phone just blows up. Wednesday and Thursday, like, oh my God, I just got, and like, I did a show with someone, it was only an hour and 40 minutes or something. And people were writing me like, why did you bail out early this week? I needed the content to last 7. I do 30 minutes every day on the treadmill, and the show needs to be long enough to cover the whole week. it's because I really wonder, will people really, because I'm a fan of that kind of content. I love to listen to Lex Fridman and Tim Ferriss and people with, they just get on guests and they talk for 4 hours about wherever it goes. And I felt, hey, we need that in this space where it's not the sound bite for the room temperature IQ people. This is a thing for the thinking people. And so I've been so just happily surprised at the impact it's having. And so the point I was going to it with this, so now, of course, I'm getting everybody who wants to be on. You know, they're people who don't know me, know somebody who knows me, and they send a message like, will you let Randy know I'm available if he would like me on the show? And of course, these are the Ponzi scheme people and the hypesters and the crypto scam people and people that I would never let on because I vet the people. So the plan all along was, hey, Art, Dana, Wes Linden, Ann Feinstein, whoever, that's part one. There will be a part 2, a part 3, a part 27 for all these people if they're open to it, because I want to know what's going on in this space right now. What are they working on right now? What did they learn this week, this month? What did they do last month that was such a big breakthrough for them? So that was always the plan, but just background for people who are watching, you called me Monday to vent. Well, no, you called to tell me to do the prosperity album because you had listened to Peter's show and you said, hey, I put it on pause right now and I'm calling you, you have to do that show. But then we just started talking and you were ranting and I'm like, Dana, stop. We got to do a new show right now on this topic. What are you doing this week? What are you, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? What are you doing? We got to get part 2 with Dana. And so here we are.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go with that?
Where do I want to go? Well, I'm trying to think what I think it was a lot of what we have already talked about is
Some of it
was a general discussion, which is just that this business fundamentally doesn't change. Fundamentally, it's the same business that it was when I started 30 years ago, roughly. And yet we're like, I more than ever, I see people trying to take shortcuts, trying to change fundamentally the business in ways that it just doesn't work, right? It's kind of like, I think I talked about this at the mastermind. It's like we're trying to pretend that we're not a direct sales network marketing, leverage sales kind of business. We're out there posing as these e-commerce companies and we're doing some kind of model, but I don't know what that model is. And I get calls from people within my company, outside of my company, and they can't understand why their business isn't working. And I did a call not too long ago from a group from another company, and people were tearing up because I'm basically telling them there's every company in the world is always looking for new talent. They never stop looking for talent. There is nothing wrong with recruiting, but somehow, and I think it's a combination of social media and a combination of just the circumstances of the last few years where people got out of the habit of engaging with people on a personal level and trying to do things in this very superficial way. And then trying to present this as just this business where we're promoting product and we're building online e-commerce businesses. No, we're not. We recruit talent. We're looking for leaders. We're not looking for people who don't want to work, who want life to be easy. And I think the CEO of our company shared something that said 92% of millennials want to own their own business. And I'm just throwing out numbers. I don't remember the exact numbers, but most of them don't, but like only 12% of them want to be leaders. And that to me is broken. That whole thinking is broken. I want to be seen as a leader, but I don't want to do the work, is basically. But I can do that on social media. I can be a leader on social media, but not really be a leader. You're going to see me that way, but I don't have to do the work. And I think that's the gap for our business right now, is bridging that gap between this fiction and what's real and what it takes, and why it's so worth it to do it the way you have to do it, which is hard work.
You know what you said on Monday that I wrote down?
Uh-oh.
This is where we gotta pick up when we turn on the microphones. You said, people have the idea there is a way around the hard.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
All right.
And you and I think this was what I loved about the first episode we did together, was we talked about that.
Yeah.
Why are so many people afraid to tell people that there's work involved?
Yeah.
We have this, like, we get so jaded in our business. I had a leader leave me. He took a deal and went to another company because he felt like a failure. And the reason he felt like a failure is because he was only making $50,000 a month. That's
it.
And I was making like 120. And this is on me, by the way. This is not on him. I had to have failed as a leader because somehow I created the environment that he felt making $50,000 a month, US dollars a month, in a country where this is even worth more than in the United States, that he was a failure. We get jaded, right?
Yeah.
Like you said with your lady who's making 10 grand. Do you understand 10 grand is in the top 2% of the entire world population if you make that kind of money? But so why are people so afraid to say it's going to take work and it's not a get rich quick, and no, you're not going to do it in 60 days? And why can't they just say it's a 2 to 4 year plan and you need 10 or 12 hours a week to do this, and you can't do this in 90 minutes a week? How do we get that message out?
I don't know. Or the other one that I just makes me wanna, my skin crawl, is you can do it in the nooks and crannies of your day. It's like, no, we're not an English muffin. We're a business, and every business that succeeds has operating hours. It's not just random. If you're going to build a team, they have to be able to call you and get you because they might have someone on the phone that they're trying to connect you to, and they need to know that you're going to be available most of the time when they reach out to you, or that you're going to have availability in your calendar and you're going to get back to them. I mean, it just blows my mind the fibs we perpetrate as an industry, and I don't know what that comes from, and I do think it's because to some degree we go through these cycles in our business where there's something that happens that makes the business a little easier than it was, and it's short term, and it could be a company thing. It could be like social media was a wider spread phenomena where early adapters saw incredible success, and then through COVID the same, because people could only be on social media for the most part to do a lot of things, and it was a primary source of entertainment during that time. But I've seen in our company like something come in that creates this top of growth that's not sustainable, and I think that happens in a lot of companies. But I don't understand why we are afraid to talk about the hard. And the kind of people we want to attract, generally quality people, understand there's no, as you would say, free cheese in the mousetrap. You've gotta, anything worth doing and having usually takes some effort. So maybe you have some thoughts about why we're afraid to talk about the effort that goes into this.
What I think happens is people think they have to compete with the pyramid schemes who
Okay.
make those claims. And so they say, oh my God, my competitors are saying this. And wow, my competitors are saying you make $7,000 your first month and $25,000 your third month. And people are making $200,000 a month within 6 months. And they think, well, I have to compete with that. So how do I exaggerate or, twist or turn or manipulate? And the answer is no, those are not your competitors, because it's just like you're not going to compete with the people who rob liquor stores.
Yeah.
You get the right liquor store on a Saturday night, there's a good amount of money in the cash register. You're not going to compete with that, right? But you wouldn't want to. So why would you try to compete with these money games and Ponzi schemes and crypto scams? What you should be competing with is the person who's working in the fulfillment center for Amazon, who has a boss who says, okay, we're tracking you. We've got a monitoring how many orders you process every minute. We're trying to see how much of what you do can be replaced with a robot, a computer, AI or whatever. We're going to be monitoring you with cameras and, the whole time you're at work. And the people who are working at IBM and Exxon and the people who are working at General Mills and General Foods and Anheuser-Busch and Marriott and all those places, the traditional corporate world, the traditional other industries, the manufacturing, the manual labor, and the mid-level stuff, the manager stuff, even jobs that a lot of people would say really cushy, like, okay, they're a vice president for a big hospitality chain or a hotel chain. Yeah, but if you knew the office politics that they've got to go through and the dog eat dog mentality in some of those corporations, and the thing, whereas like I've been really watching this debate about remote work and companies telling people,
yes, that's really interesting to watch it.
yeah, right. And so companies saying, no, you have to come back to work now or we're going to fire you if you're not in the office. And I'm, launching this media outlet with Jaime. I'm dealing with that now, just as a startup founder. We have 2 people in Mexico. We have one is in Uruguay. We have one in Colombia, and we have to liaison with things. So we can only do it through Zoom and WhatsApp or Signal or whatever. And there's some challenges with that, right? But then I say, wait a minute, Gage, you ran a team of 200,000 people in 50 countries. How did you do that? And the answer I come back with is, the difference is my 200,000 people were all entrepreneurs. They weren't employees. They have a vested interest in growing their business and growing the enterprise, because they get dividends from the better the company does, the better the team does, the better they're going to do. And that's the message we need to go out there with and say, stop trying to compete with the Ponzi crypto people, compete with the horrible employment mentality that so many people, the politics and the backbiting and the dog eat dog, and the fact that if you're working for somebody, they have to buy you at wholesale and sell you for retail. Otherwise, they go bankrupt and nobody has a job. That's just the way that system works. But when you come into our system, you don't want to be at the top of the comp plan, the first person sponsored by the company. You want to have 20,000 people between you and the company, because every one of those 20,000 people has a vested interest in the success of your business.
Yes.
And in exchange for that, we're going to ask you to work. It's a very simple business, but it's not an easy business. And it is hard. And you're going to face some rejections. You're going to face some dropouts. You're going to face some no-shows. You're going to have setbacks. There might be negative publicity. There might be issue with product back orders. There's going to be economic factors that you are going to have no control over that are going to impact your business. But it's your business and it's your bonus check, and you are building why did I call my first book How to Build a Multi-Level Money Machine? Because that's what we have here. You are able to construct a multi-level money machine, to construct a multi-level stream, multiple streams of income business. And no, you're not going to do that in the nooks and crannies. I'm going to ask you to work. We have a leadership academy every Monday night from 7 to 9. We need your butt there. We have a leadership Zoom call on Sunday evenings from 6 to 7. We need you on that.
Yeah.
3 times a year, we have a major event. And we need you to get on a plane and rent a hotel room and take 2 days off, on the weekend, and get there and be with the other people. And it's going to take work. It's going to take sweat.
Investment. And we stopped talking about investment. It seems to me, and maybe this is just my observation, but have you noticed that we've stopped talking about, and you have to make an investment in your business, that it's the money that you're making it's good, but it's got to go back into going to the events and your self-development and your personal development. And then I think there's a layer that is more difficult to navigate today. And that's the number of people selling programs for the shortcut.
Yeah.
I mean, back, when I started my business, there were books. You had to read a book. And the few people that wrote books, I think it was you, it was Mark Yarnell and
Big Al.
Big Al. There was just a few people writing books, but fortunately, the people that were writing books had also done the work.
Yeah.
And then over the years, I've watched very slowly people who haven't done the work come into these spaces pretending they've done the work with this is the path to success. And it's often very flawed because it's really not something they've ever done. It's
Right.
just what they say they've done. And my experience is also very few people bother to poke the bear to see if the bear is real. They don't do a background check or dig into their credentials. They just accept people at face value. And because I think for many people, they're not business people. They just assume if somebody's coming forward saying, I'm going to show you the way, it's because they've done it. And what we have in this moment now are tons of online programs and these, as Art calls them, gurus that are going to give you the shortcut. You just have to give them $10,000, but you'll get the shortcut and you'll go to the top of your company in just a few months. And sadly, people are buying these programs.
They are.
And just the title of the program, you can, as an experienced network marketer, you go, oh my gosh, who would buy that? But somebody's buying it.
Yeah, I will tell you this. I have never stopped talking about investing. in the business. And funny, the show I just did with JJ that came out today that you haven't seen yet, we were just talking about why this podcast has taken off so much. And what I have narrowed it down to is the let me see, the MDTPM, the $1 million tips per minute, right?
Right.
The ratio of $1 million tips per minute on some of these episodes is mind blowing.
Right.
It's not I'm sure there are people that are disappointed who come to this podcast and say, well, I want to prospect my brother-in-law, but he makes a lot of money and I need to know what script should I use with him. We don't do that kind of stuff in this podcast, right? My book is there. Your book will be out soon. There's resources that teach that. The point of this is the $1 million tips. That if you listen and you extract, and my $1 million tip on the investment thing is just, when I sponsor somebody, I tell them right up front, everything you make for the entire first year, I need you to reinvest back in the business. I want your commitment. You're not going to try to take any money out of the business, because we're not doing this if they tell me they want to be a builder and build a big team. Now, somebody who's a retailer and they say, no, I want to make an extra $300 a month to, fund my kids' college or for our vacation. Great, no problem at all. But the people who say, no, I want to build a team of 50,000 people. I want to be a, quadruple blue Hawaiian diamond commander. Okay. All right. Then here's the deal. I need your commitment that you will not take any money out of the business the first year. I want you to reinvest everything you make the first year into samples, self-development, tools, and events. And if someone listening just gets that and says, oh, it literally is $1 million tip, because once you create that culture with the 7 people that you're going to sponsor this year who stick, the 7 people, and they replicate the process, and you create that culture in your team, it literally might make you an extra $1 million a year for the rest of your career. Just that, but it's, again, being willing to say the difficult conversations that, as some people perceive them, meaning to be willing to tell people the truth and say, no, there is, what was your language? There is no way around the hard. There's some hard things. I'm your partner as your sponsor. I'm working with you. I'm committed to help. I'm going to help you drive depth 10 levels deep. I'm going to counsel with you on a monthly basis. But in exchange for that, you're going to have to do work. And it's going to be hard sometimes. But if you make easy decisions, you live a hard life. If you make hard decisions, you live an easy life. Because that's, they compound over time.
Yeah, well, life is never going to be pain-free or problem-free, but you can, you get to sometimes choose the problem and the pain based on what you're willing to do today, right? Things compound, as you're saying. It's like you avoid the hard, and then you find you avoid the hard because you don't feel like going to the gym, maybe, and you don't feel like eating vegetables because you just don't want to, and then you find yourself sick, and now that's really hard. Disciplining yourself to move your body, it would have been uncomfortable for a little bit, and then it would have become normal for you. But once you've crossed a certain threshold, you can't come back. And and I think there's with this business, I was just thinking about this the other day. In fact, I'm working with Vicky, doing some edits, and she wanted me to extrapolate on something. And I started thinking about, through the years, what I've seen, which is life happening to people. I've seen people come in, and one of my favorite stories is I had a woman join my team, 65 years old. Her doctor retired. And she just said, I don't want to train another doctor. I'm going to join your team and I want to go into business with you. She put her full self into it. And she would say to me, I'm 65 and, I don't want to do this slow. I want to get it done. And she did. She got to the top of the comp plan and life happened for her. Her daughter passed away unexpectedly and left her with a handicapped child. Imagine now I think she was at her 70s at this point with a handicapped like 5-year-old that she's got to raise. And she would say to me, I'm so glad I worked my business while I could. I'm so grateful I worked as hard as I could while I could. She got the hard over with so that when life happened, it wasn't so hard. It was a horrible situation that did not become a financial catastrophe. Because at 72, you have to, and let's say she didn't have an income coming in except for, so she would call me and say, my car bonus is bigger than my Social Security check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I found out, I got the mail because I'm getting close to that age. So they sent me a mailing like, here's when you retire, here's how much you're going to, and I looked at that, like how much I'm going to get. And I've been making millions of dollars. You know how much money I poured into that Social Security pyramid scheme? And I looked at that amount they were going to give me every month. And I was like shell shocked. It's like, it's horrific.
And when people say to you, this is a pyramid scheme, my answer is always, we're not Social Security. That is always my answer. That is the biggest Ponzi scheme going. And it's about to go broke because they've been taking, and that's why your checks are so low. Your theoretical checks that you're going to get, maybe, possibly.
I
know.
Anything else you have on your list that you want to chat about?
I just really want people to like know more than anything that it is hard work. This business is not, and there's a lot of distractions that we're fighting that we've never fought before. And I think that has made it more challenging, probably in some ways than it's ever been. I think there were different challenges in the past that were just equally as difficult, but it's so worth navigating those challenges, moving through the hard. It's so worth it. And I just think we've got to, as a profession, be a little bit more to be proud of who we are, be proud that, like, I have gone back to calling us network marketing because I don't need to call it something different. I like what I do. I'm proud of what I do. And I'm tired of trying to change the language to make people like me and like it. It's like, I'm just done. I'm just so done with that. We have something so incredible. Like you said, there's people like you talked about the Amazon thing, read an article about the steel plant in Baltimore is now an Amazon warehouse. And they interviewed somebody who worked at the Bethlehem steel plant, now works at the Amazon warehouse. And he said the work at Bethlehem Steel was really dangerous, but it was so much better than it is working at Amazon. And it got down to he didn't interface with anyone all day long because interaction with other people interferes with productivity. And so he felt very isolated 8 hours every day, except for a robot that came to help him.
Right.
I thought, you come into this business, this, and you get this community of people. And it's not just the people that are going to be in your company, but it's like you're going to meet people outside. Like I have a friendship with you and the whole mastermind faculty because I stuck it out and I worked. And I think just some of the best people I know and supportive people I know are people that I wouldn't know if I hadn't stuck it out. And I just want everyone to know that, like, there's so much more room for this, what we're doing, for people to be at the top of their companies. I remember, I don't remember, it was a venture capitalist said to me that there should be that for the amount of top income earners in a network marketing company that a state could hold was, it was some ridiculous numbers. And they had done, they had kind of looked at, because they were looking at buying a network marketing company or starting a network marketing company. And I remember being blown away by how many people could be earning significant incomes in a state from just through network marketing. And I thought, like, why do we hesitate? This is, and I guess my point is, there's so much more room for the whole industry to grow, not just the company that you're in. And we don't need to compete with one another. We need to support one another, because there's enough working against us. And we've got to be honest. We've got to tell the truth about what we do, because the people that we want, they don't want it to be easy, because it looks, as Rita Davenport always said, if it's easy, it's sleazy.
Yeah, because if it's always easy all the time, it has to be sleazy. If it's something of value, there has to be some friction. There has to be some strenuous. Iron sharpens iron. And
Yes.
there has to be some kind of, the obstacles are the stepping stones to success.
Yes.
So would you like to be part of history?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. This will go down in history. I'm starting a new tradition
Okay.
on the chopping it up with ... series.
Right.
And you're going to be the first.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to start a new tradition, and that is every partner I have each week, and the very last question I'm going to ask them, what was the worst rejection you ever had, or the worst presentation flop you ever had? And what did you learn from it?
Oh, wow. Worst rejection I've ever had. My mother, my own mother. So, and probably the worst presentation at the same time. So when I seriously,
I love it already. I love it already.
this story is so funny. But it was a little soul crushing at the same time, when it was happening. But now I look back and I think it's really funny. My mother was actually the one that convinced me to open up my mind to other ideas for getting out of the career path I was on. So I thought she would be thrilled that I was doing network marketing. Just thought she would be over the moon about it. And I asked her, could you get some friends together so I could share my company with them and the products, the opportunity? She wouldn't do it. She basically was like, I'm embarrassed. I can't believe you're doing this, and just shut me down completely. So my aunt had a presentation for me, and she invited some of her friends. She invited my mother. My mother was the heckler. She heckled me the entire time. It was so I was embarrassed. I was humiliated. It was awful. I barely got through the night because I was brand new in the business. So fast forward, I am at the top of the comp plan. I get a call from one of my key leaders, and she says, I did a presentation last night and I had someone sign up with a sizable order. Now, I talked about you as the person, my mentor, and, you were brought up in the course of the presentation, and this woman didn't tell me that she was your mother. My mother signed up with someone else. And she was like, please don't be mad. And I'm like, how can I be mad? She at least signed up with somebody that I get paid on.
Right.
Had a good laugh about it. And so that's my most brutal rejection, most difficult presentation. And what I learned from it is this. Sorry about that. What I learned from it is this. One person, no matter how close to you they are, will not make or break your business. I think we have a tendency to come into this thinking that, this person's going to want to do it with me, and this person's going to support me, and this person's going to help me. And when they don't, we go, this isn't going to work. And the reality is those people weren't the right people to begin with. And you just sorted a little bit incorrectly in your head. My mother, if I waited for my mother to support me, we'd still be waiting. But here's the best part of the story. When I turned 40, when I was a little kid, I always said to my mom, when I grow up, I'm going to buy you a Mercedes Benz. And my other brother would say, when I grow up, I'm going to buy you this. And my other brother would say, I'm going to buy you this. And when I turned 40, I sent her a brand new Mercedes Benz with a note in the front seat that said, I'm the only child who keeps their promises.
Oh, do I detect a tone in that?
Well, it was a joke because, she was always kind of like putting wouldn't talk about what I did, wouldn't tell people what I did. But then there was a method to my madness. When she got the car, people would say, that's a beautiful car, Peg. And she'd say, my daughter bought it for me. And they'd say, what does your daughter do? And guess what she'd have to say?
Right.
What I did. Got quite a few people calling me saying, hey, I want to know about your business.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So.
All right, you guys watching, listening, subscribe, like, share this with your team. If you want to be the PhD in leadership and you want your team to get there, every Wednesday, new episode. Ms. Collins, what can I say? Thank you so much again for who you are and being in my life and my career and being a part of this platform. It's really thunder and lightning out here. I don't know if you're hearing that. It's crazy in Miami right now. And I'm supposed to be playing 2 softball games tonight, so it isn't looking good. But anyway, all I can say is thank you again for your contribution to this and our profession in general. And I can't wait for part 3.
Thank you, Randy. I always love my time with you. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Peace, love, and unicorns. Hey, guys, I'm back, and I just want to thank you for listening or watching and let you know if you made it this far, you are a serious, credible leader. You're somebody committed to success, professionalism, and honing your craft, sharpening your saw. So I want to recommend a resource to you. It's a monthly newsletter called MLM Confidential. Leadership lesson every month, duplication lesson every month, something we call the dish, which is kind of the industry news, what's going on in the space, who's moving where, what company is shutting down, what company's opening up, what is the dish, the dirt of what's really going on behind the scenes that maybe the average person doesn't know. And there's a personal challenge every month. So check it out, mlmconfidential.com. I'll see you next week.